Tonight in Arkansas, there's a mother tucking in her daughter and turning off the light. A business owner's burning the midnight oil. An at-home dinner date is plating up possibility. And it's all happening under one roof. How? The power of a conversation, like the one John from Integrity Solutions had with First Horizon Bank about his vision for a sustainable mixed-use building. Now it's not just words, it's life. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/John. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC. A lifetime of hard work. Children laughing in the kitchen. Family photos on a restaurant wall. A legacy that lives on. It all comes from the power of a conversation. Like the one Tommy Hall had with First Horizon Bank about taking over his father's Charleston-based restaurant business. Now the table is set for a whole new generation. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Tommy. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. What's going on, everybody? It's Sunday, and that means it's time for another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. What's good, Fruit Loop?
Not the weather.
Oh my gosh, it's been so bad here.
Rain, tornado warnings, rain.
I know. I'm going to trade in my Jeep for an Ark.
Yeah, let's start building one.
We will not put mosquitoes and snakes on there.
I don't mind the snakes. It's the mosquitoes.
See, my lawn dude came to my door yesterday, and he said, I just want to let you know we found 4 snakes in your flower bed. I had just been stepping in there that morning. I'm moving.
See, I don't mind those.
Putting my house on the market tomorrow. I'm out.
See, you know why I like snakes?
Why?
Because they get rid of rats.
Yeah.
That's why I like snakes. Because me and rats don't get along.
Well, I mean, black snakes I won't kill.
Yeah.
They can live freely in my yard. But this one was kind of, I don't know, it kind of looked poisonous, but it was baby. So that means mommy's somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And she's out to get me now that I have taken care of her offspring. I didn't do it personally. My lawn guy did. So I guess I'm an accessory.
That's right.
To snake murder.
That's right.
So anyways, we're going to get some new equipment this week.
Yeah, it's here. We just got to pick it up. So I'm excited.
We're going to get some
new mics. Yeah.
Yeah. So it should greatly improve the sound quality.
Yeah.
And so we're excited. You know, we're just kind of moving along as we can, getting new stuff to improve everything.
Yep. So, yesterday would have been Victoria Rose's 4th birthday. And I think I saw that today was one of her brother's birthdays.
Yeah, I saw that on one of the family's Facebook pages.
Yeah.
And it's just such a sad reminder. In fact, you stumbled upon her grave the other day.
I did. I was up visiting a grave and saw it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sent me a picture. It's there's only a stool there right now. There's no headstone. I hope there's one coming.
Yeah.
She definitely deserves at least to have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me tell you what hit me the other day. It was actually yesterday. And we've talked about before how much that case affected a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I've never thought about the foster parents who had them prior to the Robinsons getting her. Mm-hmm. That how much that has affected them.
Yeah. They had all 3 kids for seemed like a good while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw some posts that she had made in honor of Victoria Rose's birthday yesterday, and the kids looked so happy. And then you see Victoria Rose hugging this foster mom, and the body language was so different.
Yeah. Yeah.
She just looked very at ease and safe. And just if you were to put the 2 pictures side by side, it told a story.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't forget, if you hadn't, go sign that petition. So it's Victoria's Law.
Yeah, it's pinned on all of our social media pages at the top, so it's easy to get to. A lot of people have signed it, but every signature helps.
Yep. And there's nothing going on there as of right now with that case. So
yeah, everything's kind of at a standstill, but soon enough we'll hear something, hopefully.
Yep. So you had a crazy dream.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I did. And I totally blame one of our YouTube listeners, Nitro, for putting this thought in my head. So Nitro, this one's on you, bud.
Good job, Nitro.
Okay. So I'm just going to start from the beginning. I dreamed, you guys know, I've said it every single episode for the last couple of weeks. My fear is going in the pokey, right? So I dream I'm at the Piggly Wiggly getting my groceries and I hear a commotion. I'm in the checkout line.
Okay, wait, slow down. So Piggly Wiggly, if you don't know, that is a grocery store. It's a chain. Normally it's on the coast here. So
I'm big on the pig.
Yes. You can get shirts that say I dig the pig. Yeah.
I got one for all of us.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm in the checkout line and I hear this commotion behind me. So I turn around and there's a dude running up the aisle and he's got his arms are packed with steaks that he's trying to steal. And there's a cop running behind him trying to catch him. So I throw my leg out to trip up the thief and I ended up and tripped the cop up. So I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was trying to help. So he arrests me. And the whole time that I'm going to jail, I'm in the back of the cop car crying. I'm like, I was trying to help. I'm innocent. And he said,
sure you are.
Everybody's innocent when they're in the back of a cop car. And I was like, this is not good. So we totally skipped my trial and I arrive at prison. Okay. So I'm in prison and I'm just
for tripping a cop at the Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One time I tripped on a curb going in the Piggly Wiggly. I laid out in front of everybody. That's beside the point. So I go into prison and they take me to my cell and my cellmate is this scary looking woman. And I'm just like, I want to go home. When can I get my phone call? Fruit Loop will come get me out. And I must have been starving at 3 a.m. when I had this dream because I was super hungry in my dream. And I thought, okay, I just need to get food and maybe I'll feel better about all this. So I go to the chow hall and they slop this stuff on my little plate and it looks like dog food. Not even gonna lie. So I sit down and I remember feeling very disappointed in my meal. And so I'm sitting across from this really scary looking woman who's got crazy, I remember the tattoos were just super crazy all over her. They were all over her body. And I scoop up the food with my spoon and I flick it at her. And it hits her right in the face. And I remember thinking, why did I just do that? So she comes over the table and starts pounding me and I get a couple of shots in. Well, they put me in the shoe because I started the fight. The whole time I'm screaming, I was trying to help the cop. I shouldn't be here. So I go in the hole. And this is very Shawshank, but the wall is crumbling in one spot. So I tunnel out. And as soon as I get out of the tunnel, I do this very Shawshank thing, throw my hands up in the air, breathe fresh air, and I feel lights on me. So I open my eyes and I'm surrounded by all these cops or all these, what do you call them?
Guards.
The guards. And they've got guns all in my face. And I said, uh-oh. So they were like, well, you just made a huge mistake. And I was like, obviously. And so he said, well, we reviewed the surveillance and you were trying to help the cop. But now that you've tunneled out of prison, that's 20 years. And so it's like a movie. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And they said Fruit Loop was on her way to get you. And so I was trying to send you telepathic signals to come bust me out. And then I woke up and looked at the ceiling and I was like, oh, thank the Lord. But it was one of those dreams that stuck with me all day. So Nitro, you're the one that said innocent people can go to prison. And I think you totally triggered that dream.
There you go.
Now, you have a funny story that sort of relates to this and maybe little pieces of it crept into my dream.
Could be. So one of my players was telling me one time that they were at we have Bilo is one of our grocery stores. I think they're going out of business, but anyway, so she was at the Bilo and there was this guy who was stealing meat. So he was packing his clothes full of meat. So the manager saw him. They let him get outside, and when he got outside, the manager stopped him, and about that time, a ham fell out his pants, and he jumped up and looked at the manager and said, "Who's throwing ham at me?" So, yeah, it kind of goes along with your dream.
Oh my gosh. I'm still sort of traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've had a traumatic week. So everybody wants an update on the cat potty training. Come on, let's
Always
hear
have
it.
traumatic weeks. Come on, let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
So it was an epic fail. And I got a piece of cardboard and cut out a little hole in the center and made like a little glazed donut. You know, just put kitty litter all around the hole. Looked really cool. Put the cat on there. And, you know, because I struggle with math, I failed to take into account the cat's kind of fat now. And the cardboard just gave way. So I'm holding the cat. He's looking at me like his eyes bulged out of his head like, she's trying to flush me down the toilet. And so he's gripped onto my arm. I got blood coming out. And so finally I just let him go and realized cats are meant to use the litter box, not the potty. And I'm not doing that again. His whole backside was wet. And then I had all this clumped kitty litter at the bottom of the toilet. So I had to go get one of my spoons that I stir my pasta with, which is, by the way, it's now in the trash can, and scoop out clumped kitty litter. So I'm
That's
not
so
doing
funny.
that again.
What if you would have hit the flusher?
Oh, my
What if it
gosh.
would have started swirling that cat? Oh, I can just see it, the cat going in circles.
I
That's
mean,
pretty
his
funny.
eyes bulged out of his head. Like, what are you doing to me, woman? So,
Cat 1. Hooped is 0.
yes, I lose.
Yeah, you lost. That's funny right there.
Yeah, don't potty train your cat.
Yeah, I'm thankful because I was totally gonna put a sign on the door. Cat potty, Fruit Loops potty. Yeah. Okay, so you found a link, or somebody reached out to you. I don't even know.
Yeah, so there's a guy online called Will Rob who posted some clips of the Lori Vallow Wheel of Fortune episode. So we got to see a little bit of that yesterday, and then he reached out to me online yesterday and said, hey, I'll give you guys the whole episode. Let me know where to send it. So we have it, and right now we've got to figure out where we're going to upload it. We can't do it on YouTube because of copyright issues. So once we sort of figure out where to host that, we're going to put the link out and let you watch the entire episode.
Yeah.
Really cool. Thank you, Will Rob. I think he's been on Wheel of Fortune, and he's just a big enthusiast. So he has tons of episodes recorded and found this one, which pretty much everybody following this case has wanted to see.
Oh yeah.
She was very young looking. Of course, this has been a while ago, but yeah, so we watched some of those clips.
So yeah, it's knowing what we know now, looking back on it. She gets on your nerves.
She's very fake.
Yeah.
Very, yeah. And you know what I always love about Wheel of Fortune is when somebody else solves the puzzle and everybody's smiling and clapping like, good job. And you're thinking, I hate you.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah. Everybody always claps. Yeah.
It's like bingo. If you ever call bingo out, you have like 90-year-old women wanting to whack you with their cane.
Oh yeah. I so want to do that.
We should go bingo in Fruit Loop.
Yeah. I'll film it and let you say bingo. Watch the little old ladies get mad.
Why
at
do you
you
always set me up? You're like,
Yeah.
I'll let you do that.
Yeah. I'll
and
let
then
you do
I'll
it.
just hang
Let me
back
film it.
and watch it unfold.
Yeah. That'll be great. Yeah. Okay. So another crazy thing. So Chad got summoned for jury duty. This was so comical. Like, I mean, he gets summoned for jury duty in Rob Woods County.
Oh, man. You
Madison
can't write
County?
this stuff.
Yeah. And then to top it off, Mark Means tweets about it.
A picture copy of the summons with Emma Daybell's, supposedly Emma Daybell's handwriting on his hand. And yeah, he can't do it. He's incarcerated.
Yeah. But Mark Means says, really?
Yeah.
That's what he said?
I mean, it's kind of funny. And that was sort of one of those tweets by him that I thought, okay, it's pretty funny.
It is. And I totally get it. Like, these things are automatically generated out. It's not like they go down the list and say, oh, they're incarcerated. They can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's still.
Right.
I just can't believe he tweeted it.
But from what I could see on the summons, it almost looks like it's for the same week he is to stand trial with the charges he has now.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine the defendant being a juror? Not guilty.
Yeah. He's
Be
innocent.
The lone holdout, Chad
Yeah.
Daybell. Go figure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, we've heard from locals in the area that Mark Means has been at the women's prison all week.
He seems to stay there a lot.
Stays there a lot. I mean,
To live for what, 4.5 hours away?
yeah. It's a long
I
ride.
bet you he got an apartment over there where all them other ones had apartments.
He might. I mean, I
He's
would
staying over there.
probably would. Yeah. I mean, I don't see him driving 8-9 hours a day and then staying there all day. So he must do that, which
Yep.
in our business, but
Crazy. So Dateline.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yep. You got some other stuff first, though.
Yeah, so I found an article today where KSL, which is I'm not sure where they are. I'm sorry.
Probably
KSL is
Hawaii.
somewhere like that. They talked to the wedding company that did Chad and Lori's wedding in Hawaii, and some little things were revealed that we don't know yet. So why don't we start?
So Chad called them 2 days before the wedding for a quick ceremony. This is great. He chose the cheapest package, which was like $720. This included a sparkling champagne toast.
A lifetime of hard work, children laughing in the kitchen, family photos on a restaurant wall, a legacy that lives on. It all comes from the power of a conversation, like the one Tommy Hall had with First Horizon Bank about taking over his father's Charleston-based restaurant business. Now the table is set for a whole new generation. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Tommy. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
And the pics that everybody's seen everywhere.
Yeah.
I think Lori picked the wedding location.
At Anini Beach Park, and she told the minister that she had lived there before. So she loved that place.
That's a weird word.
Anini.
Yeah.
I love all the different names. Even though, as our listeners know, we can't pronounce anything that we don't know by heart.
Hey, I can say Pro Hoc Vice now.
Look at you.
You know where I get it from?
Where?
Because I watch Food Network, and her name just left me. Jada. Her cooking show. She talks like that, so that's how I can say Vice.
I just love Italian talk.
Yeah, it's cool.
I love Italian food too.
Me too.
So the kids were obviously never mentioned, and they didn't have a religious preference. So the guy just thought they were empty nesters who were getting a second chance at life, not to mention, as Keith Morrison so eloquently said on the show, he can make anything sound nice. He said that death seemed to follow Chad and Lori like a shadow.
Yeah. So Lori referred to Chad as a famous author several times.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I can honestly tell you, and I saw your little post. I am not reading another book.
Okay, come on. I'm not going to make you do that, but I'm going to tell you the overwhelming response on Facebook and Twitter, which on Twitter I did a poll, and I think it was 82% said you should read another one, but we're going to let you slide right now.
Yeah. That is like torture.
Yeah, and I'm not taking one for the team.
So he is not a famous author.
I'd never heard of Chad Daybell before. These kids were missing.
No.
Oh, she wishes he was famous. I think that was sort of
in her mind.
The appeal to her is you got some, the beeves holding down court in people's living rooms and writing some books that I think he profited $2,000 a year on.
Yeah.
And so he's a famous author.
I want a refund. I want my money back.
You want your time back too, don't you?
Yeah. Never get those 2 days back.
I was telling somebody online, a listener, we were talking about you reading that book, and I said, you just look like you were having these mini neurological events over there.
It was.
Your face contorted.
It was painful.
Yep.
Painful. So the minister said that Lori acted more like a giddy teenager than a grown woman, which we've seen that.
Oh man, just in hindsight, knowing what all had happened before that wedding date is just disgusting.
Oh yeah. So once the word of the missing kids hit the news, the minister was so disturbed by it that he had to go to therapy for months. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think, like we always say, the reach on this case, the number of people that have been affected in relatively small ways all the way up to life-changing, devastating ways. There's so many people. And so you look, even the dude that marries them on the beach, I mean, he knowing what he knew once the whole story came out, I guess that would be really disturbing to know that you joined two people unknowingly. The guy didn't know.
Yeah.
But that has to do something to your brain, I guess.
Yeah, and like you said, there are a ton of people. I was getting my hair cut the other day. And the lady
looks nice, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. The lady who was cutting my hair, we were talking, and I was talking about the podcast, and she goes, "Oh, I know that case. That lady, she fled to Hawaii, right?" And I'm thinking, Okay. Does anybody not know about this case?
Well, you know what's funny is my brother and sister-in-law watched Dateline on Friday. I told them it was my sister-in-law has loosely followed it, but still gets confused with who everybody is.
Which is easy to do.
Oh yeah, I mean you could take 3 hours and people are still like, huh? So they watched this Dateline on Friday that aired, and I think they had another one taped. So they turned right around and watched an additional one. So yesterday I had to run over there and give them something. And they were like, can you sit down for a minute? So I sat down. It ended up an hour later. They're just asking me all these questions to fill in the gaps. And it was because my family sort of knows the case, but they, they're not into true crime and stuff like that. So it was just really cute to see them interested in it. And I just felt like I was a professor on the Vallow case yesterday.
You need to be able to pull out a whiteboard and just start drawing and connecting everybody together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So Dateline.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, yeah, it was good. I mean, there was some stuff we had heard, but there was new stuff too.
Yeah, and I think Dateline is the only, well, I mean, the investigation discovery where they followed Kay and Larry around was so enlightening because it gave us a different viewpoint from, a firsthand account of the time when the kids were missing and we didn't know they were dead.
Yeah.
So that was super interesting to me. But a lot of times, like we've said many times before, if you follow this podcast and the case, it's really hard to come by details that you didn't know. But I think this one had a lot of stuff tucked in, especially with hearing from Tammy's sister.
Yep. So she says this is the first time we have heard. Okay, so this is the first time we hear from her. Her name's Samantha. Her husband was cool. His name was Jason, right?
Yeah, and if you watch the body language between these two, they are so fluid and it's adorable. Whenever she was talking about something that was really upsetting, I would watch and he would just grab her hand and squeeze it or rub it. They were so supportive of each other, and I think that's going to be crucial to her healing her heart.
Yeah.
I just thought they were cute.
Yeah. So she says before the move to Rexburg that Tammy, Chad, her and her husband lived close to one another. Mm-hmm. That Chad and Tammy were affectionate and happy. When Tammy told her she was coming to visit a few weeks before her death and that she was coming alone, Samantha said that was odd. Mm-hmm. You had the paintball incident a week earlier.
A week later.
Yeah. After that. And she would be dead 2 weeks later. Yeah. So I thought that was, if he normally comes with her, to me, it's red flag.
Yeah. I mean, I think Tammy had told her sister that Chad had to work, and that was the excuse as to why he wasn't there. She never really, the one thing that I'm curious about is did her and Tammy ever really talk about anything relationship related? But I think maybe we've heard in the past she didn't.
Yeah.
That it was just a very normal weekend. But in the past, she had said that Tammy was dancing around the living room. They had a really great visit. And I guess as a woman, if you think your husband's having an affair, some women will want to talk about it. And I guess maybe you have some that are just embarrassed about it, even though it's not their fault.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe Tammy was hoping things would change and she wouldn't even have to go there.
Yeah.
With her family.
Yeah. So Samantha also said that she felt Chad was avoiding her at Tammy's funeral.
That's interesting. And I think that Tammy and Samantha were super close.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe he thought if anybody could feel suspicious about his behavior or whatever, maybe it would be her.
Yep. Well, you think about it. She knew the dynamics.
Right.
She knew how he normally acted.
Mm-hmm.
And to see him acting differently, obviously she would catch up on it.
And
pick up on it, sorry.
Right. And some funeral pictures have popped up online in the last few weeks. And it's interesting because you look at everybody's face around and they're devastated. I mean, just absolutely sad. And Chad was very stoic in those, at least in the pictures that we've seen.
Yeah.
And I've tweeted one out, put them on Facebook. I saw a new one today that I'll put out too.
Yeah. So Samantha says she got suspicious and started researching Lori online. And she found that her last name was Vallow, not Ryan.
Yeah. And that's a big deal. And I kind of was thinking about that earlier, and I bet they did that so that she wouldn't be able to Google Lori Vallow and then maybe see something about Charles's death, because that would be, my ears would go straight up.
Oh yeah.
if you read something like that.
Yeah.
Because they were told that Charles had a heart attack.
Yeah. And she felt like Chad had lied to her, so her suspicions about Tammy's death began, and I don't blame her.
No.
All these things just kept coming up.
Yeah.
And you think about, because I think he called her and asked, no, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I just lost my train of thought because I was about to jump ahead.
Welcome to my world. How does that
That's
feel?
how your brain is all the time?
Oh my gosh, you know this. We've been friends
It's like
for
the scary squirrel.
like 30
minutes.
minutes.
Like the squirrel that runs out in front of a car and don't know which way to go.
Yeah,
That's what I felt like for a minute.
Every 30 minutes, my brain just takes a little mini vacay.
Yeah. So just the lying. Like that just simple thing of not telling her right last name.
Right. Well, they also told Lori told the heart attack story to JJ's school, if you remember,
Yeah.
and so that's when they got suspicious. They actually filed a DSS report on that.
Yeah.
If you remember, kind of way back, it's old stuff, but
Yeah. So Chad told Samantha that he couldn't go back to the house where he and Tammy had lived. That he was moving in with a friend.
I'm moving in with a friend.
A friend who was Lori.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said in that thing that that she had lost her husband. Her husband had died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And she knew what he was going through. Lie number 529 million.
If we had a dime for every lie they told, we could retire and move to the Bahamas.
Yes. Yeah.
But she said on the show, 1 month was too soon for anyone to get over my sister. And I felt that.
Yeah.
Because you think these guys have been married 20-something years. They've got a bunch of kids together. They have grandbabies.
Yeah. Almost 30 years married.
Right. And then all of a sudden, a month later, he's remarried and just happy as a clam on the beach in Hawaii. Yeah.
So Chad called her husband, Jason, and told him to keep it a secret, but that he got married in Hawaii. And Samantha said that they felt betrayed and upset, especially since Tammy's death had only been dead a month.
Yeah.
And when they asked why, and then Chad gets, here we come again with he knew Lori before. She was going through a loss of a spouse. Hello.
Yeah. Even in a normal sense, it's insane. Now, Shane Bishop, who is the executive producer for Dateline, he live tweeted during this, and he said that much more was talked about on that phone call between Chad and Jason, and that in a future episode they would dig deeper into that phone call where Chad said he had gotten married. So I'm really interested to hear at some point what else was talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. So Chad called and asked if they knew anything about Tammy's body being exhumed, and obviously they didn't. So they went to the graveyard and saw that it was true.
Yeah, and that, I'm sure for Samantha, that has to be a really hard thing where you just want your sister to rest in peace, but at the same time, I'm sure at this point her suspicions are getting bigger, and so maybe to her that it was where, okay, maybe we'll find out something here.
Yeah. Here's another red flag. So he tells her, and this may be somewhere I might be jumping ahead, but so Chad tells Samantha that the medical examiner told him there was no need for an autopsy.
I thought he said the mortician.
It might have been the mortician.
Now that's what I thought. What in the world? Because morticians are the ones that do embalming and they prepare the body for viewing.
So he would have, the
mortician would have no say in who gets an autopsy and who doesn't, unless they're preparing a body and they see signs that maybe the medical examiner missed. But other than that, morticians, they embalm people and do the whole funeral home process. I thought that was so weird.
Well, if you remember when the detective called Rexburg or Fremont or Madison, whoever it was, when they were connecting these cases at the beginning, if you remember that phone call where he's talking to the lady and she's like, no, the family, they declined an autopsy. Yeah. The family declined it.
Right.
So that right there.
And he was shocked. He said, like, is that how you guys do it there?
Exactly.
Because that's the biggest, I mean, if I were to take this story and just strip it down to this situation and say, okay, 49-year-old woman, seemingly healthy, dies in her sleep, and do you do an autopsy? I mean, most places it's like, yes, you do an autopsy.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just lies. I mean, it's the same. And why do you lie? Because you're trying to cover something up.
Right. And I think this goes back to something we discussed months ago, which is it's the same in South Carolina as it is in Idaho. The coroner is an elected position, and the qualifications are over the age of 21, a citizen of the county, and a U.S. citizen. In some states, there are no laws requiring you have medical degrees or.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Want a holiday gift your employees or clients will actually love? Send them gourmet peanuts from Hubbard Peanut Company. Hub's Peanuts is a family-owned company that's been making high-quality, delicious peanuts and sending them to every corner of the globe since 1954. Order some of Hub's plain, salted, or chocolate-covered peanuts in a special gift tin for the perfect gift for your friends, employees, clients, or even yourself. Visit hubspeanuts.com. That's HUBS peanuts.com.
Even take a medical class, and then you're responsible for determining who gets an autopsy, and then you're responsible for making or breaking a case.
Yeah.
I find it crazy
weird
that in the United States, and we claim to be on the cutting edge of everything. I mean, I can go right now, and if I get enough support, I could be a coroner, and then I could be totally the main person in deciding, was this murder or was this natural?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the police came to Samantha and Jason and asked them if they had heard anything from Chad that may lead them to where the kids are. And I think that's when she realized she had been lied to about Lori not having young kids, because if you remember, that's what he told her.
Yeah, and that had to be such a shock, because I guess at some point you trust what he says, that she's an empty nester, she doesn't have kids. I can't imagine the tidal wave of emotion when those police show up and they're like, hey, do you know how we can find her kids? Can you imagine? Like, you've known this guy 30 something years. Yeah. He's been in your family. You've shared a lot of really deep moments with this person. And then all of a sudden you find out he's connected to 2 missing kids.
Yeah.
That has to be such a mind thing to grasp. On top of it, you're grieving this very sudden and unfortunately young loss of your sister.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
And to know he may have played a hand in it after what you're seeing and hearing.
Right.
So I liked her. She was like spunky and stuff.
I really, really liked her. She was such an advocate for Tammy. And I felt like, I mean, there's something, I don't have a sister. You're about as close as I got. But, you know, there was that protectiveness of it just came across.
Yeah. Yep. So she said she was mad when she saw Lori and Chad prancing around in Hawaii.
I bet.
Yeah. She had, when she talked about being physically ill, watching the news coverage of them searching Chad's property the day that the bodies were found, like just how she responded, who could do this to kids?
Yeah.
And she was emotional. She got emotional at that point.
Well, if you remember when they were piecing together all of this GPS data from Alex's phone, and then you have the text from Chad that really, I mean, just kind of sealed his fate as far as them really understanding that the day after, Tylee goes missing, he talks about shooting the raccoon and burying it.
That was so a written story.
They went to Samantha and asked her about a pet cemetery. and she was able to confirm that it was next to the fire pit. And I really, because they talked a lot about it. Obviously, animals were a big deal to Tammy. In fact, on her headstone, there are little ducks.
Yep.
But I think it's really cool because in a roundabout way, to me, it made me feel like Tammy and her sister, in some small way, confirmed what they needed to know about that pet cemetery that eventually led the police to those bodies. Yeah. And I kind of just felt like that was poetic. It's a terrible situation, but Tammy and her sister, with their love of pets and obviously the hard loss of pets, the pet cemetery, they go to Samantha. She's like, oh, yeah, here it is. Boom. That's where Tylee was.
Yeah.
I just thought that was karma.
Yeah, I totally agree. So Samantha started putting things together with everything that was coming up that was lying, that didn't make sense. Oh, that's me beeping.
Check
over
your
here.
sugar.
Yeah, that's me beeping. We're good.
All right.
So things just started to fall into place with her, with things that she had heard and he had told her.
Mm-hmm.
Even that Chad told her that he and Lori were empty nesters.
Yeah.
Or they would be empty nesters because their kids were grown.
Well, if you remember, Samantha was mentioned in the phone call with Melanie Gibb, not by name, but he talks about his sister-in-law who was playing a dark game. In other words, trying to get the investigation focused towards him.
Yep.
So we found out that that was Samantha that he was talking about.
She don't pull no punches. I don't blame her.
No.
I mean, and until you get into in that phone call with Melanie Gibb, Chad talks about her being unhealthy. She wouldn't go to the doctor. She wouldn't. I tried to convince her. Blah 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 blah. But then you have Samantha on the other end saying she was healthy. Blah 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 blah. So,
Right. Well, she had just seen her.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then you have Chad saying she was getting weaker and her heart was failing. Well, I mean, it would have been.
Liar.
He's got a case of diabetes.
Yes. Liar.
The text to Tammy, according to the investigators that were going over all of his texts, said that the one to Tammy was very different than what he normally sent to.
Oh, the one about the raccoon?
Yeah, I guess maybe he must be just one of those people that's one or two, yes, no, okay, see you soon, whatever.
Yeah.
But this was a story. You know, it
was written.
It was a mini story.
It was like he would put in a book.
Because he's a famous author and he can think of these stories on the top of his head. I have to say, his raccoon story might have sealed his fate. Aside from the fact that the kids were on his property.
Yeah. I want to tell you, you being around people, you get a sense of people.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a feeling. And I'm going to tell you, like what we're getting ready to talk to, all these people that were around them, they got a feeling. Like Cheryl Wheeler, that's Charles Valor's ex-wife, didn't want her sons around Lori.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
It's just a mother's gut.
Yeah.
I mean, and she just thought she was unstable, and you look back now and you think she nailed it. She totally pegged her for what she was, which is just unstable.
Yeah. So Annie Cushing nailed something that we picked up on the pictures that we've talked about before on our podcast, talking about the extra deadbolt on Joe's door.
Oh yeah, yeah. Who does that?
Yeah, she said it was a sign he was in fear.
I agree.
And we talked about that before. It didn't make sense.
Mm-mm. And then she also, Annie Cushing also brought up the point that Lori had this box of photographs and documents, and this was such a good catch by Annie. You don't see those anywhere in the pictures that the police took when they found his body. Although, according to Lori, the police let her in.
Bull.
Yeah.
Ain't no way. What the world? Who even comes up with that lie?
Lori.
Like you can watch Law and Order, Blue Bloods. They ain't gonna let nobody in there.
No.
You got a badge, they'll let you in there.
Right, yeah.
No.
But I just thought that was so observant to say, you got these after he was dead, but they're not in the pictures anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, because they took pictures. It was like 160-something pictures.
Yeah. That's just, it just screams, I was there prior to his death.
I agree. Although did Annie kind of chalked it up to a natural death with him on the show, though?
I still think she don't. I don't think she. I don't know. I don't think she knows. I think it's still a doubt.
Yeah. Either way, it's got to be hard for her. I mean, that's her brother, and I mean, unfortunately, they were separated during their childhood, and she made clear during the Dateline episode that she had issues with his temper and things like that, and that caused an estrangement in their adulthood. So I definitely don't envy what she's having to go through with losing him and Tylee, both in such a way that is either way is tragic.
Well, the other thing she pointed out in that was Joe was a neat freak.
Right. Yeah. That was a good point.
So, I mean, you can come to your own conclusion almost. If he's a neat freak and that apartment looks like that,
yeah.
Then you have Lori saying that I've got this paperwork and these documents, these photo albums.
Yeah, it almost looked ransacked. And once I heard what she said later that night, I went online and looked through those pictures again, and it looks ransacked.
Yeah.
Not crazy ransacked, but it does look like maybe somebody was looking for something. I guess we'll never know.
Nope.
But we did learn something that we have wondered about since the beginning of all this.
Oh, yeah. That Joe did have a life insurance policy, and it was for $150,000 that paid out to Lori in 2018.
That's big. So I wonder at what point in 2018, because we know they say towards the end of that year is when Lori first started making contact with Chad, although other people seem to think it was sooner than that.
Yeah.
So that might have been the money she needed to get kind of a running start.
Yeah.
To do the move, to do whatever.
Yep.
And I'm sure Tylee probably didn't see any of that money.
No.
Yeah. You know what was interesting is Shane Bishop tweeted throughout the show, and so he gives little nuggets. When they do the next episode on this, I highly recommend you follow Shane's Twitter account. I tweeted it out during the show. When it comes back time again, I'll do it. He said that, ironically enough, Charles Vallow's father at some point had written a book about the end times.
Yep.
I just thought that was very eerie.
Yeah.
And how about Charles's pickup line when Kimberly, his first wife, was on there? How beautiful is she?
Yep.
His pickup line where I don't remember exactly, but he said something about what's your name, and she said Kimberly, and he said, well, how about I just call you my wife? That's your name, my wife. I was like, this is smooth dude right there. But they had some issues towards the end, and he became a little bit unpredictable, and she gave an example of how he was kind of playing around with a gun and it went off and barely missed her head. But you could tell she had fond memories of Charles.
Yeah.
You know, it's Charles definitely went on to have, his boys with Cheryl. She talked about they had a miscarriage, and Charles really took that hard.
Yeah.
It devastated him. And then with Cheryl, they had their son, and then they adopted a son. So, but when Cheryl was on the show, she was talking about hearing her son screaming and crying outside when he got that text from Lori about Charles dying.
That's horrible.
Is that not terrible? I mean, and then he showed his mom the text, and I'm sure she thought, what in the world is going on?
Yeah. I mean, who does that?
Yeah.
Something like that. And there's times where you can't avoid it. You have to tell it over the phone.
Yeah.
But you would have thought she would have went through Cheryl.
Right.
Contacted her and let her break it to her boys.
You would think. But I mean, she told Colby, didn't she tell Colby that he had a heart attack?
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
Maybe she didn't call his boys or Cheryl because they would have questions and she might not have the right answer.
Yeah.
You know, you open yourself up to a live conversation with somebody. Well, it's easier to get your thoughts out in a text than be on the spot and have to make it up as you go.
Yeah. Again, when you lie, you're just lying to cover up. Nobody lies just to be lying.
Right.
You're lying to cover up something. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So a few things we learned from Shane Bishop's tweets was that Joe Ryan was a Navy veteran and he had served 4 years in some sort of an electronics job. And his rank was believed to be like an E5. I think that's kind of mid. I mean, it's not a huge rank, but it's not low.
Yeah.
So throughout his 4 years, he went up in his rank. And what did we learn about the hair salon?
that Joe had a hair salon built onto the house so Lori could still work and stay home with Tylee.
I mean, every one of these men that she was married to absolutely catered to her to make her happy. If you look, Joe builds on this hair studio just so she could be a stay-at-home mom. Charles has this dance studio installed in the house. They moved to Kauai because that's where Lori loves. I mean, it almost seems to me like when they moved back from Hawaii to the mainland, and the reason Charles said was because JJ just couldn't get the services over there he needed.
Yeah.
Although we've heard financially it was very tough for them over there. Whatever reason, it seems like the wall started tumbling down when they moved back to Arizona, and she was out of her little tropical paradise, life is perfect place.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that stood out to me with Annie talking. She was talking about how Joe really wanted kids.
Yeah.
And when Tylee was born, he was just ecstatic. And I felt bad.
Yeah.
Because we know what went on and what he went through with all that battle to try to see her. And to hear Annie say he wanted kids and he was excited about having Tylee and all that, I was just crazy.
Every picture I've seen of Joe with Tylee, you can see the love and the genuine happiness he has just being with her. And it's really sad that, I don't know how old Tylee was when they got divorced, maybe 2 or 3-ish, but that was the only little bit of normalcy he had with his child until he died.
Yep.
Everything else was a constant battle, accusations, and all that jazz. It's just, I'm sure with his upbringing of being in foster families, he wanted to be able to give his own child that loving stability. And unfortunately, Lori wasn't going to let that happen.
Yep. Yep. So Shane tweeted out that initially his contact with Tom Ware and Vivian, they expressed horror at what had happened to Tylee.
Now, we tweeted out on Facebook yesterday about Tom Ware. So why don't you tell our listeners, since we brought him up here, what in the future we're planning to do, kind of how it came to be.
Yep. So he reached out to us. So he actually had not heard what had happened to Tylee and JJ.
Until when?
It was like a few months ago.
Yeah. So,
like it was recent.
Yeah.
And Vivian was the same because I think he called Vivian and told her what happened, and they were both like, what?
Yeah.
They couldn't believe it. So
Right.
then he started catching up on the case and everything, and he reached out to us and shared some stuff with us. So we're in the middle of breaking all that down.
It was about a 3-hour conversation.
Yes.
It was very long, and
Yeah.
so at some point we'll go through it. We're really kind of going to pick through what's relevant to the kid, to Tylee and Lori and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he did call me out because on a past podcast where we were talking about them, there was an example given where at the end of the day they would go out to the bar.
Yeah.
And I said they were up to some shenanigans, and on the phone he said we weren't up to shenanigans. And for me, you think about it, these people are entitled to be able to go let some steam off. This is heavy stuff they're dealing with, but
so we'll have that in a future episode. We're just in the middle of breaking it all down. So.
Right. 3.5 hours. And we recorded the call with his consent so that we wouldn't miss anything, so that when we do.
Because my brain, I would not remember none of that stuff.
And I'm not good for that. So,
yeah.
So we're just, it's a lot to go through and try to pick out what's relevant to Tylee and Lori and the custody dispute.
Yeah. Yeah. So a therapist told Lori to stop calling Joe a pedophile in front of Tylee. Mm-hmm. That was another thing Shane tweeted out.
That's called alienation of affection. And that is a big no-no in custody battles, where the judge, if they find out that you're doing this to your kid, they'll strip you easily of visitation rights. It's toxic because you condition a child to think a certain way if you constantly are saying the same negative things about a parent.
Yeah. Well, what kid wants to hate their parent?
None do, just innately.
You even have, just in bad situations, and I've found some of this out working and doing some stuff serving papers. Like, kids, they want to love their parent.
Of course.
They don't want to hate their parent. So when you put them in that position, that's just crazy.
It's unfair in every sense of the word, and you can't be a good parent and do that. You do not. That is a selfish thing. Anytime a parent tries to alienate a child from the other biological parent or adoptive parent or whatever, that is nothing but self-serving. Nothing good benefits that child from hearing constant negative, because then the child feels guilty for feeling affection towards the other parent.
Yeah.
And it creates a chaos in their mind, and it harms children who grow up having issues in adulthood because a parent was selfish during a custody dispute.
Yeah. It's like one of the worst things you can do.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, other than physically hurting your kids, to condition their brains to hate or to not love.
Well, if you think about it, Lori did that a lot with people.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about it before, how we think that she told Alex certain things. When he went and he tased Joe.
Right.
He really thought he was doing something good.
Right. And the same with Charles. A lot of people have said that, well, Charles was just sort of as into this custody dispute and the allegations as Lori. But if you're married to somebody and you convince them that your children were sexually molested, and they did talk to Colby, and he said he did do it. So we respect Colby's statement, and we're not going to dissect that because that's Colby. That's his life, and
we weren't there.
We were not there, so we're not even going to go there.
I mean, we did see the grand jury didn't indict Joe on any sexual abuse charges.
Right. But still,
Tom and Vivian both said they didn't think that happened, but I mean, Colby was there, so.
Exactly. So that's just kind of where we're going to leave that. But I didn't forget where I was going. We were talking about the abuse. Oh, Charles. But if you're married to somebody and they say, this person did this to my kids and it was terrible, and why would Charles not believe it at that point in their marriage where things were good?
I mean, why would he question it? Now, when he's standing talking to the officers, saying that Lori's doing all this stuff and trying to get her admitted so she can get some help, did he start to rethink all that? I bet he did.
He might have, but then again, at the same time, you might think that that's so low to accuse somebody of doing that to their own child that why would she do it?
Yeah.
People can get so just hooked into these stories. And so, I mean, for him, it might not have ever been something he ever questioned. We just don't know.
Yeah.
Because who does that? I mean, a lot of people do. Unfortunately, Lori did. But to Charles, I think he thought he was doing a noble thing to a point in trying to get Tylee away from her dad.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lori had been charged with judicial interference more than once for not giving Tylee to Joe for visitation.
Yeah.
And you think, I mean, now we have that recording where she was saying, I wanted to murder him.
Yeah.
And she was talking about Joe for putting what he put his kids or put Tylee through or whatever. He was a monster. And I mean, Annie even admitted he had a temper.
Yeah.
He had issues with that.
Right.
But
I don't understand how this wasn't a huge issue with the judge, because I know people that have been in nasty custody disputes and they refuse to let the kid go with the parent when it's their time. And everybody I know that did that was pulled into court and said, you're defying a court order. We could literally arrest you for this.
Yeah.
Why? So if
it's
happened,
baffling.
If it happened more than once, why do you not see she's being non-compliant?
Yeah.
She's being
She
defiant.
did it every time.
Exactly.
And we see where the kids are gone, she flees.
Mm-hmm.
The cops come, she lies, she flees. So she's not held accountable for anything.
Right. Shane Bishop also says that Annie had nothing but nice things to say about Charles.
Yeah.
He really seemed to love Tylee. When he's on those police tapes, it's not like my son and her daughter, it's my kids.
Yeah.
My children, my kids. You would never know any different.
Yeah. And I think we learned, I'd never heard this saying, but he said Lori was brainwashing Tylee.
I think it's very clear from a very, very young, impressionable age that Tylee was being brainwashed into what worked for her mom.
Yeah. Yep. It's like those situations where somebody makes you solely dependent on them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're solely dependent on them, so you don't have anywhere else to go.
It's kind of like cults.
Yeah. There we go.
I mean, they warp your thinking to where you think you can't survive without these people. Tammy's family said that Chad wanted them to make the move to Rexburg with them, but they didn't go. So that goes to show you how close they were prior to the move to Rexburg and probably after long distance, but close enough to where Chad said, hey, come go with us.
Yeah. So Jason and Chad shared a building for their respective businesses. Jason had a glass business and Chad had his publishing company.
Yeah. Shane said he tweeted out during the show that he's gotten to know Tammy's family over the last year, and he had nothing but admiration for the way they live their lives. So he didn't elaborate, but I just assume they're good people who live their life in a good way.
Yeah.
Nothing fake about them. He says he just hasn't met many folks like them. And I think that speaks volumes about the kind of people Tammy's family was.
Yeah.
We don't know much about Chad's family, but it seems like Tammy really was raised in a good home, loving home, very close to her sisters. I always love the story about Tammy starting her own little library and making the library cards.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I have to go pay $100 at the library tomorrow. Oh, I lost a DVD.
Oh.
I had a late fee and now I just can't find it. So, you know what's crazy though? If I were to go buy a DVD and hand it to them, they would still charge me the $100. I mean, who gets $100 late fee at the public library?
You do.
They probably got my mug shot up. Do not check out nothing to
Don't
her.
let her check out nothing. Nothing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So this just goes along with what you were saying about Tammy's family. So her sister Samantha actually fixed her hair for the viewing.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Just that was the last thing she could do for her as a sister.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a hard thing to do, but it's really beautiful. My grandma's done that. She did that to her mother. And to me, it's just an act, the last act of love physically that you can do. But how hard that must have been looking at her so young, laying there and thinking, why?
Yeah.
And now we kind of know why. We think we know why. We think this autopsy is going to tell us why.
Yeah. So another thing he tweeted out was Samantha said that Tammy kind of went after the paintball guy.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but good for her.
Yeah.
Who knows? I just think there's so much we don't know, and we're going to find out these little things. But I love the fact that you know she did. She was like, "Come at me."
Yeah. So one of the things he tweeted out was about Lori. What was it about the jail in Hawaii?
So Lori apparently complained very loudly about the jail conditions in Hawaii during her 2-week stay there. I could see that.
Oh yeah.
Because I always go back to that bond hearing. And the woman says,
glare.
Bail is confirmed in the amount of $5 million. And then you just see ever so slightly the frown. And then that's when she gives the laser eyes to her attorney.
And he looked so nervous.
He kind of turned his head like, uh-oh. I have poked the beast.
Yeah, he looked nervous.
So we're probably going to stop here.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point to stop. And that kind of was everything we had about the Dateline episode that we took notes on. Our UK listeners were excited we were doing this because they apparently can't watch over there.
I know, that's crazy,
Isn't that crazy? I know ways around it. I just don't know if I should tweet it out.
No. We ain't going to jail.
Yeah,
Look, you gonna go to jail.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that, y'all. I'm teasing. I'm not that smart I mean, the way to do it is to fly over here and get a hotel and watch the next Dateline.
There you go.
So there you go. I don't want my dream being a premonition.
I'm not sure about, some people do watch parties.
Yeah, they do. I'm not sure how it goes.
I don't know either.
I think though I had read on one of the Facebook groups that maybe they had stopped it because of copyright concerns. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything coming up this week. I just think we're still on murder charge watch.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
Bring it, Rob.
Yeah, let's go.
We always shout Rob out every episode.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to do the Southern Goodbye today.
No, let's not do it. Let's not do the Southern Goodbye. We're just going to hang up. Click.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
No. So if anything comes up between now and Wednesday, we're definitely going to hop on, do a sweet tea
Session.
I need one more cup of coffee to complete my day.
No, I was funny over there earlier. You were like, she took a big drink of her coffee and was like, I just burned my esophagus.
Oh, yeah, 3rd degree burn straight down. I just didn't anticipate how hot it was going to be. Usually I make my cup and I let it sit for 10 minutes or so, and it's just here. And I constantly have coffee. I mean, I think my blood type is medium roast.
You just need to do IV drip.
Yeah, exactly. Just pull the pole around my house.
Yeah.
But no, I just took too big of a gulp and it hadn't cooled off yet. So it just felt like, Satan was on the slide down my throat.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Hopefully we're coming on sooner to say the charges have been filed.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
All right,
We
guys.
ready.
Y'all have a good Sunday, and we will see you Wednesday.
Good night.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.